we go. So this is SciStarter. We're all over social media at SciStarter. So throughout, if you want to tweet at us or tag us on Facebook or tag us on Instagram, we will be happy to elevate your posts and share them. And feel free to share your impressions of this webinar as it's going on. If you do have social media, we're happy to get the word out. And by you sharing that, you actually inform more people about citizen science. So I think that's pretty cool. But otherwise, you can find us on the web at SciStarter.org, and we are just a resource for citizen science, which is regular people doing real research, real scientific research, that is. So helping increase our knowledge of the world and all sorts of scientific disciplines, from entomology, which is the study of bugs, to outer space, to even bread. We actually posted in our SciStarter newsletter this morning this really cool project where they're studying the makeup of sourdough with the help of citizen scientists who are collecting data about the bread they're making. So there's real, citizen science is as diverse as science itself, and what makes it citizen science is the fact that regular people have the ability to meaningfully contribute and create new knowledge about the world. And often with a lot of projects, especially ones that we put in our programs, when they're focused on the environment, they can help address issues you might be concerned about. One example is the MyCoast project. By contributing data to MyCoast, that project has made the commitment to send data about sea level rise and all sorts of different things about our changing coast to resiliency planners, who then can make communities stronger and better equipped to handle problems. I'm going to go ahead and if you're not talking, I'm going to give you a quick mute. So let me allow 2 people to talk. I'm hearing some clicks. All right, here we go. But yeah, if you feel free to unmute yourself throughout if you have a question. Otherwise, I ask you stay on mute just so everybody can hear you. And for those who just joined, please drop who you are, your zip code, where you're calling in from in the chat. And if you're from the Verizon program, great, let us know. If this is your first time doing citizen science or hearing about it, let us know that too. If you're organizing an event, we want to know that. Or even if you run a project, just let us know so we can, we have a lot of different people probably listening to this presentation right now, and we want there to be something for everybody. So SciStarter, we create opportunities for regular people to do real scientific research. Millions of people enjoy science and nature. Thousands of scientists need volunteers, but they can't find each other. There are so many amazing citizen science projects, so projects that need help from regular people. One example is the Stall Catchers Project. Scientists at Cornell University realized that if they had a bunch of people helping them annotate these blood vessels, they could speed up the search for a cure to Alzheimer's. When they added their project to SciStarter, where they listed it, then people who are into this sort of thing, who want to do science volunteering, were able to find the project and literally start doing research and speeding up the search for a cure. And that's true for any number of the thousands of projects that people have added to SciStarter, and for any number of the registered users who are citizen scientists who want to help these projects. We're the connector for them. That's what SciStarter's purpose is. So we connect them. And then you won't be able to hear this video because of Zoom, but I always like to show it because I think it showcases kind of the diverse faces of citizen scientists. It's people of all ages, old, young, in between. We like to say the phrase from cradle to gray. You could be a professional scientist and do a citizen science project that's not necessarily related to your discipline as a volunteer. You could have never graduated high school and you can do citizen science. You can be 13 years old and you can do citizen science. There's no one way to do it. So as you saw from those faces in that video, and if you want to watch the full thing, it's on our YouTube channel, and it was made for us by PBS Nature, and I think they did an awesome job. But yeah, there's no one person who's a citizen scientist. It is everybody. So I always like including some good hard data because I think it really hits the point home. So eBird, millions of reports. eBird's a project that seeks to understand the distribution and types of birds. And without eBird, we wouldn't know that bird populations have declined so precipitously across North America. There are things we know about birds, important things that we wouldn't know without citizen scientists submitting data and observations to eBird. Water testing, that's huge. There are so many communities that activate regular people, train them in protocols, which are steps to take common good data observations to see if the water, is clean, or to see what's in the water and then maybe act on it if they need to. Study at home, that's a really popular project. You literally just volunteer your computer and you can help with this program running in the background search for extraterrestrial life. So, and it has over 5 million volunteers. That's an example of a really long running citizen science project. So different citizen science projects have different scopes. Some projects, like eBird, it could go on forever because we need an ongoing understanding, day by day, year after year, of how bird populations are changing. Whereas some projects, they may have like a very definitive research question and they may close up shop after they get your help and answer it and communicate the results back to you. One example, even though they answer a bunch of different research questions, is stall catchers. They'll test different research questions and get the help from volunteers about different questions regarding Alzheimer's. Recently, they found a preliminary finding based on the annotations of the citizen scientist volunteers that exercise wasn't correlated with a decrease in stalled blood vessels in the brains of mice that had been infected with Alzheimer's disease. That's huge. And they found that out all because of the work of citizen scientists. So yeah, there's no one project, and you can definitely find something that's right for you, right for your interests, right for your time commitment, and that you potentially could do from home. With stall catchers, all you need is an internet connection, and you can start volunteering right here, right now. So some common features, these, not every project has all of these, but I think these are helpful criteria for me when I'm trying to evaluate a project and say, is this citizen science or not? So number one, anyone can participate. That's a biggie. For citizen science, we don't want there to be barriers. We want it to be something where regular people can get involved and not have to have specialized training apart from learning the protocols or how to take data for the project. So people who didn't graduate high school, they can be citizen scientists. People who may be on the younger side, older side, they can be citizen scientists. We want it to be anyone can participate. And data is huge. We want the data to be able to be trusted for these projects. So that's why following instructions as you take the data and following common steps is so important. And a lot of projects, they'll build in protections for the data into their design. So I keep bringing up stall catchers, and I feel like that's a good one to bring up because they actually have multiple people annotate each video, and that helps it so the data is more trusted. Oh, we got some people in the chat. Let's see what they're saying. I'll stop my share for a sec. All right, we got a Verizon employee on the line and a Girl Scout leader. Awesome, awesome. We got some diverse people on. Keep on, let me allow everybody to talk to make sure, people are able to chime in. But yeah, as we go, feel free to ask questions in the chat, get some conversation going. This is your webinar, and we want it to be useful for you. But yeah, so we want the data to be trusted, and that means everybody follows the same steps to collect it, and the project can design some data protections, like with stall catchers, where they're having multiple people make each annotation so they can trust the power of the crowd. And the data is supposed to be used for something. You don't want to just be, collecting data for your own health or just doing something just for fun. You want it to answer some sort of research question like, are bird populations declining? That's a valid research question that you can answer by help answer by submitting your data. Or you may want to ask, like the example of, does exercise decrease stalled blood vessels in these mice brains? That's a valid research question that's answered by the analysis of citizen scientists. So the data needs to be used for something. And not every project has open data, but a lot do. For many projects, you can download a map of all the different data points. So one project I think of is Stream Selfie. That's a project where they're studying the health of the country's streams, and they're actually able to get insights about this by analyzing the data from citizen scientists. The selfie part is optional. So if you went to SciStarter right now and you search Stream Selfie in the search bar at the top, you could take pictures of streams, maybe a selfie of you in front of the stream, upload it to the forum that's actually hosted on SciStarter, and then answer some questions about what you saw on the stream, and they would be able to draw conclusions from that. And then you could also go and look on the map for Stream Selfie at data submitted by other citizen scientists. That's an example of open data. Everyone's able to see it and use it. I think this is a really powerful statistic as well. In a study of 338 citizen science projects, so that's not even all the thousands of citizen science projects that are out there, just 338 of them, it was found that millions of citizen scientists, 1.3 to 2.3 million citizen scientists, their contributions had an economic value of 2.5 billion per year. So that's huge. People volunteering their time, they're generating really valuable work, and they're speeding up the research process, helping us answer questions we care about, like how to cure Alzheimer's disease, even faster. Um, so you won't be able to hear this video either, but I think these are some great statistics. So it's just impact by the numbers. So thousands of projects available listed on SciStarter that have been added by all sorts of different groups. eBird, we mentioned that, they get so many data points from people, and they're able to understand bird populations better because of that. The Christmas bird count, that's a citizen science project that helps us understand climate change. We're also able to understand the change in seasons because of citizen science, people contributing to projects like Nature's Notebook. iNaturalist, that's a huge one. 92% of records of butterflies and moths come from the iNaturalist, people uploading their data to iNaturalist. And we're saving researcher time too. So I think that video is really powerful. It just shows the fact that we can accomplish so much more when we're getting data from citizen scientists. And beyond just answering questions you care about, you can also learn a lot from citizen science. A lot of projects, they build in learning outcomes for you. They want you to be able to lead the project understanding, how to identify a plant better, or they want you to understand a little bit more about, what protocols are, like what the steps are to collect data. The best projects will build in learning outcomes for you to make the experience enjoyable for you. And when they do that, everybody wins. The national academies in the United States found that designing for learning actually helps the project outcomes and helps them discover more. So in a nutshell, we just want to make research more efficient by connecting the communities of citizen scientists and the fields of research. And SciStarter, there's, of course, the project finder is a big part of it. Being able to go on there and search projects that you can do by, activity, projects you can do on a hike, or maybe online only if you just want to do it from home on your computer, or by age group if you're looking for a project to do with your family. But we also offer a number of different programs to try to get people involved. I saw someone from the Girl Scouts was on the line. We have the Girl Scouts journey that you can find through SciStarter, but you can do projects and then that have been specifically selected for the Girl Scouts, and then take action on those projects, which is a common experience experienced by so many Girl Scouts now. We have programs with the Osher community at Arizona State University, which is a learning community for people over the age of 50. That's a special program SciStarter helps with. We have the Citizen Science Month program, which I'll get to in a sec. And I saw some people from Verizon were on the line. We're working with Verizon to help match them, the people from Verizon, to projects that need their help and to events that they can go to and connect with other people who are citizen scientists. And we also do some research too. We work with researchers who study the field of citizen scientists and what volunteers want, and who use SciStarter's metadata to draw conclusions about public participation in science. So our partnerships we have, I didn't even mention media. We also try to tell the story of citizen science. We have a blog with Discover Magazine, for example, where we engage people that way. We have a podcast. The whole point of SciStarter is just to try to get people to do more research, to be meaningfully involved in the creation of knowledge, to answer questions we care about. And we do that through different programs and through giving you the tools to participate. And we do that because we want to support you as universal lifelong learners. So when you go to the website, this is what you see. You will be able to use the mini project finder to search. You can use the advanced project finder by clicking up there. And you can also access your account and your dashboard to keep track of your participation in different projects. And before I describe some of the future projects that I think would be great for y'all to do we have any questions? And I'll monitor the chat too. I'll just stop my share for a sec so I can see the chat better. And feel free to unmute yourself too if you have any questions. And it's totally okay if you don't have any questions too far. If something comes for you as we go, that's fine too. All right, I don't think there are any questions at the moment, so we'll keep on going. Um, so I mentioned that we have different programs to get people involved, and we feature different projects and different programs. One of our upcoming programs is Citizen Science Month. Citizen Science Month is in April, and leading up to it and through April, we're really promoting these projects to address environmental and human health. So if you go to SciStarter.org/NLM, that stands for National Library of Medicine, who are actually supporting this program, you can find these 6 projects, which are suggested projects to answer valuable research questions. With Globe at Night, you address light pollution by sending your observations of light pollution in your area to help scientists better understand the night sky. With Flu Near You, it's actually scientists at Boston Children's Hospital who are trying to predict future outbreaks of the flu. It's an epidemiology project. You're studying the epidemic of the flu. And all you have to do to meaningfully contribute to that is just fill out a survey every week about whether or not you're healthy or sick. Debris Tracker. That's actually a project sponsored by National Geographic. It used to be called Marine Debris Tracker, but now you can track any sort of debris, and you're actually mapping pollution hotspots by sending observations of litter and debris that you see. And that one has the great added component of the fact that you can help clean up that litter as you go, in addition to giving valuable research observations about where the hotspots are. I See Change is a really popular project. I love I See Change because a lot of projects that study changing weather and changing climate, they're really focused on quantitative data, right? They're focused on the numbers. But I See Change also sees the value of qualitative data, of your thoughts or observations, and they leverage you as a local expert of where you live. So I live in Washington, D.C., and it's really hot right now for January. So I can go on I See Change and I can say, hey, it seems unseasonable here. And I can send a picture of what I see outside my window. And I See Change will use that to draw conclusions about seasonal change. So that one's awesome. They really believe that you're the expert in your own backyard. Stall catchers, I keep on mentioning that one over and over. That's another one I do as a citizen scientist, speeding up the search for Alzheimer's, a cure to Alzheimer's. And Crowd the Tap, that one, all you do is make your own simple kit. All you need is a penny and a magnet. You can actually test your pipes for lead. And you're helping the researchers for Crowd the Tap. They're actually based out of NC State University, create a national, across the United States, map of pipes. Which is huge. So some of these projects are global. I See Change, for example, and Stall Catchers are both global. You can do it anywhere on Earth if you're in Antarctica or if you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, whereas some, like Crowd the Tap, are restricted to a certain country, and others which aren't featured on this page because, you know, this page is aimed for everybody up to and through April. But some projects are hyper local. They may just be studying a particular lake, you know, in their community, and they may list that on SciStarter to reach people in their neighborhood. So projects have different geographical range, but these 6 projects are projects at the very least you can do anywhere in the US, and a few of these projects are global. And then for our folks from the Verizon program, we're so happy you're here, and we're so excited to activate you as citizen scientists now throughout the rest of the year, and especially during April, Citizen Science Month, because this is a great way to celebrate. But if you go to verizon.scistarter.org for our Verizon friends on the line, you can find these projects that have been specifically selected to help you protect the planet. So we mentioned I See Change. And also for those on the line, you can do these projects too. You can find these projects on SciStarter. It's not limited just to folks from Verizon. We just made this special page for their program. But Nature's Notebook, that's a project where you send observations of seasonal change to contribute to the study of phenology, which is the study of seasons, to see if the seasons are changing or, you know, maybe happening earlier, maybe getting more irregular. Nature's Notebook answers those questions. We mentioned Debris Tracker, and you've also heard the name iNaturalist throughout this presentation. That's a really accessible project. If you have a cell phone or a camera or a computer where you can upload photos, you can send in photos of plants or animals, living things, and your best guess at what they are, and it contributes to a global record of biodiversity. So it helps us understand, you know, what species exist out there, where they are. One example I always like to bring up is the toilet weasel. Someone found a weasel on their toilet in Chile, and they thought that this weasel had been extinct, this type of weasel, but it wasn't. And they sent a picture to iNaturalist, and that's how we rediscovered this species, all because of the toilet weasel. Um, with iNaturalist, try to send in observations of uncultivated nature. So that could be like a bug in your home or a weed you see on the sidewalk. You don't want to send in like flowers you planted in your garden, because they're really trying to understand the naturally occurring world. Even though you can send those in, you just have to mark them as cultivated. We mentioned IC change for the Verizon folks. We're asking that you focus on air quality for IC change, though you can submit about any sort of weather or climate that you see. My coast, we talked about that. That's for, we're chronicling the changing coast for resiliency planners. So you could send in observations of king tides, for example, which are really extreme tides. That's really valuable data for my coast. And you could send in pictures and just a description of what you're seeing. Stream selfie, we mentioned that. The selfie part is indeed optional. All you need to do is send in a picture of that stream and answer the questions on the form about it. And then you're able to help the scientists behind that project understand the health of streams. Animal count, that's a great project that you can do in your home, and it's very it's focused just on one island, which I think is really cool. It's an example of how you can accomplish a lot with a really razor focused perspective. But with animal count, it's all online. You're just basically looking at pictures of this island and counting the animals you see there and submitting those counts. And that's really important. It's going to help researchers understand this particular island and draw conclusions about it, which could have ramifications for other research too. The Great Sunflower Project, this is a project that asks you to identify where pollinators are declining, so we could hopefully improve their habitats. This project, it's so simple, but it's so important. You basically just pick a flower. It could be a sunflower or something else that pollinators would pollinate, and you watch it for a given period of time, at least 5 minutes, but hopefully longer, and count how many pollinators come to it. And believe it or not, scientists are able to draw big conclusions from that data you send, even though it seems so simple. And then we have the NASA Globe Observer projects. There are 4 in total, but we have 3 of those protocols featured on the Verizon page: clouds, land cover, and trees. With these, basically you download the app, the Globe Observer app, and you're helping NASA scientists ground truth their satellite data by either sending in observations of clouds, observations of the land around you, which fittingly is called land cover. It's what covers the land around you, are sending in observations of trees. And they're able to cross-check that with their satellites to see if they're working properly and draw other research conclusions from that. So whether you go to SciStarter.org/NLM, and we encourage everyone to do that, especially during April, because those are our featured projects, but you could go there right now too. Or whether you're from the Verizon program and you go verizon.scistarter.org, we urge you you can start contributing to these projects right now on your own, or you can do it as part of events. And each of these projects on both of those pages, the NLM page, scistarter.org/NLM, and verizon.scistarter.org, both of those, they have step-by-step instructions for you and what you need to participate, be it a computer, tablet, or smartphone, for example. Or I don't think any of the ones we selected, aside from Crowd the Tap, that penny and that magnet, have more specialized equipment. So your dashboard, once you contribute to these projects, you'll be able to, all of those projects are SciStarter affiliates. You can search for SciStarter affiliates in the project finder. You would just select the criteria, is a SciStarter affiliate. And of the thousands of projects that are listed on SciStarter, these affiliates, it's about a little over 100 of them, have opted in for an extra level of tracking. So you can go to your SciStarter dashboard as a registered user and see how many contributions you have. So this is my dashboard. As you can see, I've contributed to 13 projects, and of that, 39 of my contributions have been to affiliate projects because they allow for that special tracking. So every time I upload an observation to iNaturalist, 24 hours later, I get pinged in my SciStarter dashboard, and I'm able to get some cool data visualizations. So I'm able to see some graphs of my number and frequency of contributions to these projects over time. And I think this is really good because we're able to give you credit for these. So for anyone who does an affiliate project during Citizen Science Month, so any of those projects from scistarter.org/NLM, for example, we're able to give you a certificate based on that. And maybe someday we'll be able to give some college credit. So that's why I think the affiliate program is important. So Citizen Science Month, you've heard me mention that a few times throughout this webinar, but it's in April, and we're encouraging anybody to celebrate. Basically, we just want events to happen in April, and if they feature the projects on the NLM page, all the better. But if they don't, that's okay too. For our Verizon folks on the line, if you go to that Verizon volunteer portal, which is, I think, how you found this webinar in the first place, you're able to see a number of events. Some of them are global. So for example, we have different weeks of action. We're asking you to do different projects like Nature's Notebook to get some collective impact out of that and really accomplish something together. But you're able to see a number of in-person events like Citizen Science at the New York Botanic Garden, which I think is going to be an absolute blast, where they're actually opening the doors to employees from Verizon who have been activated as citizen scientists and members of the public too. So if any of you are from New York, you can go to this event in April, for example, and it's just to get people doing citizen science and to kind of guide you through the process. So if you're from the Verizon program, make sure you find these events in the portal for you. You know where to find it, the employee portal, which is separate from the verizon.scistarter.org page. And if you're just a member of the public, you can find events or add events to scistarter.org/events. So even if you're just a citizen scientist, you could plan a meetup for Citizen Science Month. You could say, hey, I'm booking a room at my local library. Everyone bring their laptops. We're going to do stall catchers. And that's the whole point of Citizen Science Month, is just to get some, to spread the word and get things done. So this image up here, it's from the Museum of Science Boston. They're planning a Citizen Science Month event, which will be open to the Verizon folks as well. And below is an image from Southeast Regional Library in Gilbert, Arizona. They're also planning a Citizen Science Month event that you'll be able to discover in the Verizon corporate portal. So, and which will also be open to the public. So there's really no limit. These events are happening all over the world. There are events that are happening in Nigeria, for example, for Citizen Science Month. There are events happening in Europe. So I encourage you just to go to scistarter.org/events and either add an event that you're organizing or find an event that you can do. And the sooner the better, honestly, because we're already seeing RSVPs come in for these. And one unique thing about projects that work with SciStarter's affiliates is a lot of the time the scientist will come back and thank you for the project. So this is someone who works on the Nature's Notebook project, and she recorded a video thanking the citizen scientists for contributing valuable data, and she described what they accomplished. And for 6 of the projects featured in the Verizon portal, I See Change, for example, after April, we're going to have Facebook Live events that anyone on this call could tune into, where I'm going to interview one of the people running the project, and they'll describe what was accomplished, and they'll be able to answer your questions. So I mentioned the project finder already. Before we move on to some questions, I just wanted to reiterate that you can search with different criteria. So you see here, I selected has classroom materials and what age groups I wanted, but you can also do it by location, by topic. I could just type in the word birds and I could search for bird projects. By activity, if you're on a hike, you can search for a project. So things like that. The project finder helps you find the right projects for you. And of course, you can select for is a SciStarter affiliate if you want to keep track of your contributions in your dashboard. These are some of the affiliates. So Stream Self, you'll see some familiar names on here. Stream Selfie, we've been talking about that. I See Change. Project Squirrel, National Squirrel Day is coming up on January 21st, and you can do Project Squirrel to celebrate. That's a project where you send in pictures of squirrels to help study their diversity. So when there are different color squirrels, for example, in different places. You have black squirrels in the Northeast United States. I'm originally from Florida, and I'd never seen a black squirrel before I moved to Washington, D.C., and I was absolutely blown away. And I definitely submitted my observation to Project Squirrel so we can better understand squirrel populations. Of course, Stall Catchers is an affiliate, so you can keep track of your contributions in your dashboard, and just on and on. So this is my contact info. I really encourage you to get in touch with me. Just shoot me an email if you ever need anything or you have any questions. My phone number, it's always in my email signature. You're also welcome to call me. And we also have these weekly calls every week, every Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Eastern that are open to everybody, really tailored for people organizing events for Citizen Science Month, but for citizen scientists too, who just want to hop on the line and ask questions and get ideas from each other. So before we move on, do we have any questions from folks? I'll stop my share. I'll make sure everybody's allowed to talk. And if you haven't yet, if you don't mind, I'd love if you could put your name, your zip code, where you're calling in from. If you're part of any special program like the Verizon program, or if you're a first-time citizen scientist, put that. We just want to know a little bit about you too. So any questions so far, or thoughts, or anything you want to bring up or hear more about? And nothing's off the table. You can ask absolutely anything. Someone said, love the idea. I can contribute to gathering data for the climate. That's right. And I really recommend IC Change. I see that you're a Verizon employee. IC Change would be a really good fit, especially for your area. If you have lived in your area for a little bit and you kind of have an idea of what the seasons are like, IC Change is an awesome one to do. You can also do, of course, another project on the Verizon portal, the animal count. They can get observations about climate change, or iNaturalist is huge for getting data about how the world is changing. Someone said, I don't have any questions. This is already really exciting. I already participate in iNaturalist using the Seek app. Oh, that's so cool. So the Seek app, everybody, is it's something you have to enable. It's separate from the regular iNaturalist. It incorporates a little bit more artificial intelligence to help you identify things. On iNaturalist, just the standard app, usually there are so many ecologists and professionals on iNaturalist, and they will actually help you identify things. Someone asked, do you ever have social science projects? Yes, actually. There are some projects where there's a really cool history component. One I always think of is called Notes from Nature. That's a project that it's on the Zooniverse platform, so you can actually get credit in your dashboard if you put in your SciStarter username. I think they recently became a SciStarter affiliate, at least some of their versions of Notes from Nature did. But that's one where a lot of cultural institutions have this historic data and historic observations, for example, from Charles Darwin. He may have written his notes by hand. And when you participate in Notes from Nature, you help transcribe that and report things about it and tag it to help draw conclusions about the history of science. So I think that qualifies as a social science project. Someone said, can you tell us more about the New York Botanical event in April? Live in NYC, and that looks great. Yes, you can go to scistarter.org/events, and you can search that event and RSVP today. That one, they're going to be focusing on iNaturalist and the Notes from Nature project, because New York Botanical Garden actually has their own Notes from Nature just for all the New York Botanical Garden historical documents. So they're going to be asking you to help transcribe historical science documents, so write down what you see and maybe the cursive handwriting, or record what pictures there are. Like if someone drew a picture of a fern, you can indicate that. And they're also going to ask you to take observations of plants and animals with iNaturalist. So that's what's going to happen at the New York Botanical Garden event in April. Okay. Any other questions from folks? Okay, someone said thanks. You're welcome. Happy to be here. I'm grateful to you all for giving up your an hour of your Saturday to talk about this. I mean, without great volunteers like you, this wouldn't happen.
It's so interesting to see what the boys pick out when they go shopping for their sisters.
All right, so we're going to move on to the module. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And if you guys have more questions, feel free to unmute yourself and let me know. Oh, someone just chimed in the chat, so let's see what they said. Can citizens create research projects or just participate by contributing data? It's a mix, right? We'd recommend participating at first by contributing data in already existing projects so you can be part of a broader effort and leverage your impact with others. But you can create your own projects on things like sitsci.org or anecdata.org. Those are both platforms that give tools to citizens who are trying to collect data about things. For example, one project that was created by a non-professional scientist, which I think is really cool, is called Roadkill Reports, where it asks people to send in observations of roadkill so they can be mapped and we can understand if there are places where that's happening more than others, if there's more roadkill in certain places. And that's valuable science right there. And that project was created on anecdata.org. So yes, if you have a research question, you can do some of your own study about the best way to design a project, and you could get that together on a platform. Great. So we have this module which was created by instructional designers at Arizona State University. And if you sign up for our newsletter, we're going to be sending out the final version of it in a few weeks. But if you ever have someone where they're like, what is citizen science? And they have a lot of questions about it, this module will be something that you can refer them to. Because it kind of leads you through it. And it's also written at a 5th grade level for accessibility reasons. That's one of the most common reading levels, especially in the US. So this is a module that you could really give to anybody, and hopefully they could go through it and understand what citizen science is. So I was going to briefly page through it with you now, just to kind of review everything we talked about today. So what is citizen science? There are many questions like, how can we make sure we all have clean water to drink? And can we find treatments for rare disease waiting to be answered? Scientists do a lot of research to figure these things out, but many, many research questions cannot be answered without the help from the public, us. You can assist with all types of research, even if you are not a scientist, through citizen science. That is so right. One project I think of that wouldn't be possible without citizen scientists is Crowd the Tap, because you are actually sending in data about your pipes. You're saying whether or not your pipes contain lead or not. It's not like researchers could go into your house and test your pipes without your consent. We can only make that inventory, that national United States-wide inventory of pipes, with the help of citizen scientists. And that's a really important project. So that's just one example of a project that couldn't happen, scientific research that couldn't happen without citizen scientists. So here are some key terms: research, careful study that is done to find and report new knowledge about something. Science, a system of studying, testing, and experimenting on things in nature. Science is a search for general laws about how the world works. And that's why I really like citizen science, because as a kid, I really didn't like science. I was kind of scared of it. I thought it was all memorization and all just boring stuff. But I think when teachers bring citizen science into the classroom, they show that science is really more of a process and a way of thinking and a way of understanding and creating new knowledge. And citizen science, by having people literally do the science, brings that home. For that matter, if any of you on the line are educators, we have a number of SciStarter education programs. I'd be happy to talk about that, so feel free to follow up with me after the call. So citizen means all the people. It doesn't mean you have to be a citizen of a particular country. It just means you have to be a person. And then you can do citizen science. So for example, there's the Citizen Science Association of Australia, the Citizen Science Association of Asia. There's no one place where you can do citizen science. There are citizen science projects that are run in Antarctica. One I'm thinking of that's on the cruise line Hurtigruten. They have the people who are just doing the cruise for vacation use really cool equipment to collect samples of phytoplankton. So they're literally doing analysis on the ship, non-professionals doing science. So yeah, I guess we can safely say there's citizen science on every continent. So all citizen science projects have this in common: they need you to help solve real world problems. And what are the projects like? All over the world, we've mentioned that. They can be about nature, health, oceans, the stars, and so much more. You don't need a degree, you don't need a lab, you can do the projects when and where you can. There's no age limit. On SciStarter, we recommend that only people 13 and older make accounts, just for privacy reasons. But if you want to do citizen science as a family, you can do that too. And there's a project out there waiting for you that matches the topic you are interested in, are concerned about. So these are all examples of projects. One, you can actually do citizen science with your dog. If you go on the SciStarter blog, we wrote about this pretty recently, but there are projects where you can fill out surveys about your dog's personality or send in a genetic sample, and you can actually, your dog is a citizen scientist when you do that, and helping contribute to knowledge about dogs. Marine debris tracker, we mentioned that already. It's not necessarily marine, you can do it anywhere, but you're helping fight pollution and mapping those hot spots of litter. And then here's an example of one that's kind of limited by geography, but still important. Cacti dangerous beauty, you're documenting global occurrences of cacti. So now we have a yes or no question. Is it true that citizen science projects can only be about nature? I'm not even going to ask you all about this. I'm just going to say no, because it is not true. They can be about anything: stars, health, nature, even your pets. So some key points. You can help solve real world problems through citizen science. Most projects have no cost. You can do the projects when and where you can. There's no special meeting time. Even though you can attend some events or host events, most projects are ongoing through time, and they can be about anything. Any project can address any issue about the world. So who can be a citizen scientist? Anybody. And how does it work? You find the need. So there's some sort of question that needs answered. You follow the protocol, so everybody follows the same steps to get the data, so the data can be trusted. And you solve the problem. Hopefully you answer your research question by collecting this data. And how do they contribute? Taking samples, sending in pictures, analyzing data through an online game, taking a survey. There are so many different pathways to contributing, everything from collecting data, sending in samples, to literally doing the analysis. So stall catchers, we've brought that up. You're doing the analysis by catching stalled blood vessels in brains of mice that have been infected with Alzheimer's disease to speed up the search for a cure. So protocol, we've mentioned that a few times, but it's basically just the rules. We all agree to follow the same rules so our data can be trusted. A sample, it's a portion of something that's being studied. Analyze, it's when you're examining something and explaining it. And of course, data, facts, figures, or other information that can be used to learn something. Select all the images of people shown here who can be a citizen scientist, then click submit. And I'm just going to spoil it for you all. All of these people can be citizen scientists. It doesn't matter if they're actually a scientist. They could always volunteer for a project that's not in their field. It doesn't matter if they just graduated in high school. It doesn't matter if they're a stay-at-home dad. It doesn't matter if they retired 5 years ago. Anybody can be a citizen scientist. Okay, let's keep going. So how do you become a citizen scientist? Well, we recommended checking out those NLM projects just to get you started. So you join the project, you make your SciStarter account, and you participate. Here are some other project examples. That's one thing I appreciate about this module. They just show that you can use the project finder to find a project that is either at a location, online only, whatever works for you, has classroom materials for you educators out there. All of these are valid ways to contribute. So why? So why are you going to contribute? You may want to do your part to protect nature, animals, or humans. So doing a project like I See Change, that gets to the heart of that. Or My Coast, for example, you're really helping resiliency planners when you do My Coast and help make communities on the coast safer. Or you may just be curious. I do Project Squirrel because I just really want to understand why squirrels are the different colors they are. So there are all sorts of different motivators that get people doing citizen science. And then, of course, for any project on SciStarter, whenever you click Visit Project's website or Participate on the SciStarter project page, it shows up in your dashboard. And for those affiliate projects, you can keep track of the frequency and number of your contributions. And what are other citizen scientists saying? Let's see what Kathy said. She said, I use SciStarter to find great projects that I can do while walking my dog. I own a small business and can't take too much time off, so I love finding projects that I can quickly and easily get equipped to do. And that's a big thing too. Some projects, are really fast. You can do one contribution a day and it could take less than 5 minutes. Some are a little bit more involved. Like for My Coast, you may have to drive, wait for a king tide, and take your observation. So there are all these different pathways. All right, now I'm going to check my understanding. So Tone is in high school, is interested in water conservation. Mia is a retired nurse and grandmother who wants to ensure that her grandchildren will grow up in a healthy world. Hannah is a college science professor who is interested in birds. All of them would like to participate in the citizen science project that involves the river close to the town where they live. Which of them can be a citizen scientist? Spoiler, all of them. Awesome. Your friend is interested in doing a citizen science project, but is worried that he will not know what to do. Which of the choices below is the best thing to tell him? It's okay. All the steps for each project will be given to you before you start. If you have questions, you can email the project coordinator. Oh, I know this is right. I mean, the other two aren't always necessarily true. You may not always be working side by side with other people. You may be doing it on your own, as in the case of stall catchers. And sometimes it is a little hard to do. One project that gives me some trouble is called Philo. It's a project where you're analyzing DNA, and I just think it's really rewarding, but it takes a little bit of practice before you can really get it. So some projects are definitely harder than others. So you have all the steps for the project, and you can email the project coordinator if you have questions. And I think that's why you don't have to be nervous about citizen science. And we at SciStarter are here to help you too. So why would you visit the NLM page? You can make an account. That's right. You can find a handful of vetted projects about human and environmental health. That's correct. And indeed, you can find additional free resources. This is all right. Woo! Here's Vicky. Vicky is interested in being a citizen scientist, but she is very busy and doesn't want to waste her time on a project that won't help. Which of these choices is best to tell her? Click on the circle by the answer you think is correct. Well, I know this is wrong. It's only a good idea if you're already a scientist. That's not true. It's good for you to learn about the research, so what does it matter if the data is used or not? Also not true. If you're just learning about the research, that's just education. With citizen science, you're literally doing the research. They use the data you collect, and you learn as you go by doing the science. So we're going to go with the first answer. All right, which of these choices is the best way to describe the word protocol? Click by the answer you think is correct. The rules. We've been over it. It's the rules. The step-by-step instructions. We all know that we're collecting data in the same way. And true or false, for most citizen science projects, you will either have to upload your observations using an app on your mobile device or play an online game to collect data. That is true for the most part. A lot of them are app-based or online-based to actually submit your data. Some of them, they use data sheets, but a lot of the time, we just leverage the power of the internet because it's such a great tool. And why do scientists need our help to collect data for their research? They don't want to leave their lab. That's not necessarily true. They need so much data, there's no way they can collect it by themselves. They cannot visit the places where they need to collect the data. I think it's these two. Correct. And true or false? As a citizen scientist, you will be expected to do the complex research and scientific study on the data you collect. False. That's not necessarily true. Some projects do involve some analysis, but not all of them. That's why you don't need a degree. And what is the meaning of the word data? It is indeed facts, figures, or other information that can be used to learn something. So data are the observations you collect, either the picture of a plant or your notes about sea level rise. That's the data you're sending in. George is interested in being a citizen scientist, but is worried about his limited mobility. What would you say to him? Well, I'm going to be nice to George because it is true. George can find a project that works for him. He could do an online project if he's worried about leaving the house, for example. Or he could do a project like iNaturalist, which makes it accessible and you send in pictures of living things that are around you. So if George is able to get outside, he could use iNaturalist in a way that works for him. He can also, he can search by locations he can reach and even do online projects on his computer. And we did it! We completed the module. So if you have someone you need to introduce citizen science to, feel free to use this module. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen again. And any final questions before we all go, or any final thoughts? And I'm going to be I recorded this webinar, so I'm going to be emailing the recording to everyone who registered. So feel free to use it or watch it again if you want to, or send it to a friend. Anything works. And we really hope that if you're from the Verizon program, you do one of the verizon.scistarter.org projects and find those events that we've helped arrange for you in the corporate volunteer portal that is hosted on the Verizon site. And if you're anyone in the world, we hope you do one of the SciStarter.org/NLM, which stands for National Library of Medicine featured projects, and maybe plan an event for Citizen Science Month around those projects. Someone says, thanks a bunch for this great information. No, thank you. Thanks for being here. But yeah, if you don't have any questions, feel free to drop off. If you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask me. I'm here to listen. I'm here to chat with you. No, Liz, thank you. I really appreciate it. If you haven't yet, please drop your zip code and where you're calling in from in the chat. But yeah, I'll just hang around and answer any questions. Someone said, I'm at work, so can't unmute, but I am looking forward to getting started. You're in NYC. Well, I really recommend going to the New York Botanical event. Oh, we got someone in Texas. We actually have an event. We haven't listed it on the Verizon portal yet, but in Irving, Texas, which will also be on the regular SciStarter website that anyone can go to in April. Someone said, can you recommend any other websites you find really useful? Definitely. I think the SciGirl site is really cool if you have a younger girl in your life who's interested in science. Zooniverse, a lot of Zooniverse projects are also listed on SciStarter, and that's a great citizen science platform. In terms of useful websites, if you're looking to learn more about science, Discover Magazine is always a great bet, especially if you're a member of the public seeking to learn. Let's see, other useful websites. Science Connected, they're great. They have a lot of publicly accessible science materials. Yeah, I think those are all useful websites. So check out Science Connected to learn more about science. All right, any other questions have you ever used the free bird apps? I've used eBird. I love eBird. I think that one's great. And I think there have been so many valuable contributions, and we understand bird populations so much better because of it. So definitely give eBird a try. We now have parrots in our neighborhood. Oh my gosh. Well, submit that on eBird or iNaturalist. That's so interesting. Are they someone's pet? No, they are a flock. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, definitely submit that observation. If you go to SciStarter, you can find links to download eBird or iNaturalist. All right, well, I'll keep hanging around if anyone has any more questions, but otherwise, I hope you all enjoy your Saturday. Oh, thank you. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and end our meeting because we're right about at 4 o'clock. If you have anything else, just email me and get in touch. Thanks.